Hey everybody, we're live. It's another one. We're at week 24 of my OS project, my desktop environment in the browser, web OS, web desktop, uh, full-on operating system, whatever you want to say, however crazy you want to go with it. I'm trying to go as crazy as possible, but within some reason actually. Not getting too much into some of like the memory management and the more real operating system stuff, I guess. I say real operating system in quotes, but I should be the one in quotes because I'm a real fake operating system. But we made a lot of progress in the 23 weeks that we've already done. I'll quickly show you guys here in a minute. If you've enjoyed the videos I've done before, if this is your first one, welcome. Please, if you like it, throw me a like. And if you want to see more of it, you want to support me, you want to motivate me, throw me a subscribe. It helps. Like I said, it's big motivation, and I'm going to keep this project going. Plan is still to release it in November, end of November, this OS. So then it'll be live for everybody, and you guys can all play around with it more. It's also open source, so you can play around with it whenever you want, because every single stream, that's the code right there. I only do my commits in these streams. I do work on another branch of the code throughout the week, just to kind of tune it and figure out what I want to do in these streams, and just think about it in my evenings for fun, you know. But all the real the work happens here, and this is where the ideas hit the road, and I commit them to the new branch, the new code. So thanks for coming. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to throw some chat messages at me with anything. Doesn't have to be related to what's going on here. Just whatever you want to chat about. I'm always up for that. And I'll try to fit it into this project somehow. Otherwise, I think we can just dive right into another one. And enough with the pleasantries, right? So yeah, like I said, I do, actually no, I wanted to show you guys a little bit of where we are right now. So this is where we are right now. I'm actually happy because just earlier today, when I was switching back to the stream branch after all the work that I've done this week, I realized, oh man, I changed a few cool things. I got a few cool things to show you guys, and I might even just jump right into them. I'm going to do things out of order this time. I actually don't have very much notes for what I want to do, but I have a ton of code changes that I've been working on that I want to show you guys. So we'll do that. I don't have any of them to demo because we're going to build them right now in front of you. But this is what we have already. We got our cool little start menu a little bit with our list. As you notice, we're missing a little bit. We're going to make it a little more realistic today. Quite a bit more, I would say. We got our clock. That's working okay. It also has a little tooltip, but you can't see it here. It's the browser built-in tooltip, which doesn't show up in OBS. So I guess it's the OS native tooltip, which they don't stream for some reason. And maybe if I was sharing my whole screen, perhaps, but I'm just sharing my my Chrome window. I also got my animated wallpaper, and we got some cool apps like you saw there. I had Doom, which is working pretty good. This is just a full-on DOS emulator, so I could actually run any DOS game. I'll have some more in here, I think, for mine. All the typical Windows stuff works, the maximizes, the minimizes. I can close this console here and you can see it in its full glory working. It's got all the stuff you'd expect. Resize when we're in the DOS emulator is aspect ratio locked. So as you saw there, the width and height kind of resized the same. Works for all the other functions you'd expect. Also got Linux running here on my browser and my page. That's right, full x86 emulator. I have several different OSs. I have another one called Colibri also installed on here. I could put a bunch more in here. I might even have Windows on here at some point. We have the File Explorer, which is also a really cool bit, and I still have a lot of work to do on this. We've got selections of icons you can do. Oh man, yeah, there's like 3 cool things I'm going to add today. I'll tell you them in a second here. We also got the focus and stuff. You see there's the focus effects. If I click, it works like Windows for the most part. You know, if I'm missing stuff, I'm always up to hear about it because I'm trying to add it all in the end. But yeah, for the most part, it does quite a few of the things you'd expect. I've also got right-click menus now, a little bit, so you can do that kind of thing. It's got proper file share and stuff. So you see how here we had the Doom shortcut, but here we have the Doom file itself, which is in a .js DOS format. Interesting. Oh yeah, there's another man. There's so many things I've changed this episode. I'll start listing what I'm going to change. So I'm going to start showing file extensions because right now it doesn't show it. Not for folders or shortcuts though. I'm going to add the left nav items along with their icons and a little bit of effects for it. I'm going to add that when we hover over a taskbar entry, we get peek, where it actually like previews a smaller version of the window, which will be fun. I'm also going to add the little selector tool. So like, you know, when you're in Windows desktop and you just click and drag, how you get like a little thing to be able to select. I'm going to do a bit of that, the 0.5 of that. I'm going to do the drag click piece, but I'm not going to have I haven't figured out all the selection parts yet. I'm working on some interesting ways to do that. So that's just some of the cool things that I've got planned, and hopefully we can get through all those. I've also got some bug fixes and refactors and all that stuff, but I'm not sure how much time we'll have to get into that. We'll see. Maybe I'll bounce around a bit. So that's what we got right now for the OS. And yeah, let's just get into some changes here. One big change that I've done based on my friend Daniel here had suggested to me about the way that I was overusing the use callback and use memo hooks. Maybe we can clean up a little bit of that. I almost hesitate to do that now or do that at the end, because I'm still kind of thinking the best places to do it. Some places it's really obvious though. Let's just do one, just for the heck of it, just to see. I've got so many of these use callbacks and use memos. I've decided that in a good chunk of cases I'm not using it correctly. Oh, sorry guys. Let me switch to the code here. I just jumped over to the code and searched for use callback. I have quite a few of them. This is probably, oh man, some of this is libraries, that part is. But yeah, in general, I have a ton. Yeah, I kind of did want to refactor these still. So let's just start thinking about them, because I wanted to try to remember why I was unhappy with the way I've written them. And also, yeah, I mean, in general, I want to get rid of the use callbacks. I want to get rid of the use memos for the most part, unless it makes sense. And in some cases it does. And in some cases you'll do this where you'll do like a use state and a use effect, and people say to do it use memo, but I'm not sure I completely agree with that. Basically just trying to think of a better way to be with these hooks and a little more efficient. And the issue with the use callback and the memo and the memoizing of functions and components, or of components, I guess, or yeah, I guess anything, objects in general. But it's basically, it still creates the function each time and then does the comparison to say whether it should execute it. So that in itself is costly. And in some cases, you're better off to just execute whatever the thing is, or just run the comparison, you know? Like if you're memoing to check if something is true and it only renders a couple times, it might be more costly to make the function and then compare them and not run the function, you know? And I guess in a way, it's a bit of a form of premature optimization, kind of optimizing the code ahead of time. So that's another thing to watch out for. But at the same time, yeah, it's a real balancing act. So let's get into a couple of these and just try to think about it. So this one here, use callback. So basically I'm trying to say that I want to make a function that just calls lock mouse. This already seems weird, because lock mouse in itself is a function. Oh, okay, I export it. Yeah, it's very weird the way I have this. So like I'm making a memoized function here where I'm saying, basically I'm turning this lock mouse into like, this is basically equivalent to running that, but the emulator can change. So at the start, the emulator is null. So I made this with the thinking that it'll run this once and this would be null and this function won't work. And then again, it'll update it. And then I don't want it to do it again. So if use v86, if this hook ends up rendering, let's say 10 times, it would end up, what would it end up doing? It would end up making this piece 10 times, but then because it's in the use callback, it would take this and compare it to the other one and see if anything has changed. Because even if the prop doesn't change, if the hook re-renders, this code still executes and this piece still has to get created, the comparison still has to exist. I guess the comparison doesn't have to exist if the props don't change, but this is still created. Yeah, it's very tricky. I still question whether I completely understand all the nuances of the issue. But at the same time, let's try to write this without using use callback. I've decided for the most part to just try to get away from the use callback and the use memo as much as possible, and really only use those when it feels like here's an appropriate place for it. And there's a couple still, so let's just try to get rid of this one. But I don't know if I'll do all of them. We'll see. It won't take that long. So for this one, maybe we can just use the function, honestly. Like, rather than that was just an example code there. But rather than this for lock mouse and then just exporting it here, why don't I just say that lock mouse is that? Does that work? Well, because it's saying this could be undefined. But then I should probably just say that lock mouse in the first place could have been undefined. The type. Where is its type? v86. Somewhere else. Let's go check its type. So yeah, I've said lock mouse is required. What if I say it's optional? And then wherever it's used, we can kind of double check. So let's get rid of use callback here. Get rid of that. So in theory, the code should be simpler. Looks simpler, but let's just see where lock mouse is used now and make sure it's not complaining about something being undefined or something like that. Okay, well, it's just getting passed to on click. So if it's undefined, that would be okay in this case. What about other uses? There's no other uses. So that to me was a nice little refactor. I think we're gonna have to commit these one by one. Let's take a peek then what I just changed there. So I got rid of the use callback, I got rid of this definition, and yeah, I just say for lock mouse, it's just this. And I'm using this optional chaining here. So if emulator doesn't exist, it's not gonna try to go to lock mouse and then go and you get an error saying, can't find lock mouse on undefined because undefined emulator doesn't exist in the first place. It won't do that. It would just stop here and you'd get, this would become null. And then that null gets passed to that on click, which is okay. Because if on click is null, it just doesn't do anything. So yeah, we just made that little line cleaner. Let's just do a bunch of those and just see if we can optimize them. Actually, at the same time, we should probably test it still works. So what is this? This is v86. So let's switch to v86. So that was the locking mouse function. So if I open Linux and I click the screen, the mouse should get locked. Yeah, it did. I no longer, as you can see, the cursor's disappeared. I'm locked out. And I press escape, it's back. Okay. So locking mouse still worked. I didn't get a... I wouldn't have expected an issue, but there wasn't an issue, luckily. What was it? The on click. Let's try... What if I open up v86 and then try to click right away? Man, sometimes opening DevTools and closing it really messes with it. Ah, snap. There we go. I'm not going to open DevTools this time. But I'm going to open Linux and try to click it right away. Yeah, it's fine. Lock the mouse right away. So I couldn't click it any faster than that. So this one we just did. Nice. That was a simple one. We're going to go into the code and we're going to make our first note of the day and say we removed use callback from lock mouse. And we're going to do a bunch of these. So this is just this episode is about figuring out those refactors. Oh, right, I forgot to do package updates. Yeah, we'll do those. Let's make a note of this one. Removed, I'm going to put it here just to be confusing to myself. Removed use callback from lock mouse. Yeah, okay, so we'll commit that as our first commit into redo for today, like so. And then let's move on to package updates. So if you guys remember from last episode, last week, I like this too, by the way. Now VS Code has got this little thing here that shows the terminals visually. So I can see here, this is the one that's running the app right now, and this is a terminal that I can type in. Before that was a dropdown. I much prefer it like this, so because there was some wasted space here, and now they've made some use of it. So some nice UI. Kudos to them. So we've switched to Yarn from npm. We're going to do Yarn outdated to look at what's outdated. Make this bigger. So a bunch of stuff. Looks like it's mostly TypeScript, ESLint, and types, and JS DOM. Pretty minor stuff. So we do yarn upgrade, and then we say -- latest. That'll get everything up to date, and it'll update the package.json file as well, which is what I like. That's the feature that npm lost me on. If you bring that back, I'll consider coming back. npm 8.0, I want to see that back. I want to see a flag, you know? Come on. So frustrating with those guys. All right, so let's see what updated. Yeah, just the stuff it said. Mostly some real basic stuff. If we do another outdated just to see that there's nothing left or nothing that missed, yeah. Just this browser FS, which is just wrong. Exotic. Ooh, I wanted the exotic version, which was the Git repo itself, basically. I wish it could know. I don't really know how this works, so I can hear my kid bouncing around there. We'll see if she comes to the door. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, so 9 p.m. is streams is my attempt to avoid too much interruptions from them, but they're fun anyways. Okay, so we did the package updates through Yarn now. So before I used to always write npm updates in this note, but now I'm just putting package updates. Maybe I should do Yarn updates this one time at least. This is a shout out to Yarn, but then I might just switch to package just to be neutral, you know, happy holidays kind of thing. Okay, so that's updated. Let's commit it. That's a minor one, so there's nothing to really even test there. I mean, I guess I could literally, oh, what did I just press? I just broke something. Darn it. Oh, I pressed live share. That live share button being right there is kind of annoying. It's like clicking here is for the terminal. Why is, can I just get that out of there? Oh yeah, I can. Nice. I like how customizable it is though. They really made it customizable. Recently I just did that to, with some of these buttons here, I changed them to be a bit more easy for me too. Got rid of a few and broke one out, so. VS Code, kudos again on your UI. What was I doing again? I did the Yarn updates. I wanted to commit them, but I was thinking I wanted to do a test, right? Because the test, last time I didn't test, but this time I will. All right, testing still passes. I guess another one would be build. Because I'm just seeing here that the JS DOM testing lib thing changed, so I rerun the JS DOM, the jest tests, and then I did a build because the types changed. So sometimes if you do another build with TypeScript with updated types would say, hey, that thing that you didn't know was a mistake before, someone updated the types and actually you shouldn't have done it that way. But everything built, nothing read, 200 kilobyte first load, that's respectable. All right, Yarn updates done. Let's get that one out of there. So let's just go back to some refactors here, or do I want to jump to something interesting? No, let's do more refactors. That's more fun. Let's do another use callback. I kind of like these use callback refactors because I have to rethink them. So I remember I've already rethunked this one, and basically these are the three culprits here: use callback, use callback, use callback. And I can just have these inside this function. I think I had them out here thinking, okay, I'll just render them once, and then over here I can just reference them and then just use them and they won't change. But again, it's the same thing where every time the hook runs, it's remaking these functions. Whether it reruns the comparison or not, it's just remaking it. And I was thinking, like, maybe if I just put it in the one use effect here, it's kind of more efficient anyways, and then I can just get rid of a lot of this use callback stuff. So we're going to keep this types that I've made, the size callback, and the mode callback, but we're going to get rid of most of the rest. So this one never even had any dependencies. This one had the update dependency. We're going to take the dependencies and put them in our use effect now that we've moved there. We've moved into the use effect. We'll update this. Let me just delete these three, and then autofix will fill in the rest for me, which is nice. And I press save and it'll auto format for me. There we go. So now we don't need use callback anymore. So we're not doing any more comparisons on functions. And now inside this use effect, it just makes these functions when it needs them, which seems reasonable to me, to be honest. And it's not too many dependencies in the end. It wasn't very many. I haven't solved the y+3 or y+4 thing yet, but I'm going to change this logic in the future, I think, to just be automatic or some form of detecting, you know, because it wasn't working for me before. Anyways, that's another simple one, I think. I'm pretty happy with that. I also see another little minor change I wanted to do here. This CSS properties. Oh yeah, I imported React. I don't do that typically for types. I like to I like to do this actually and make it like a little self-documenting, because it only adds like, what is this, 6 letters to this piece, but now you see a CSS property and you know, oh, it's referring to like the React, the pseudo one or the synthetic one, whatever it happens to be. It's not like a styled component thing or something like that. So that was another little piece of the refactor that I noticed here. Otherwise, I think that was all I changed in there. Yeah, nice. That's all I changed in this file. So we'll call this v86 screen size. So remove use callback from v86 screen size. And then I guess we should just test that as well. That's the trick with removing these use callbacks, is you don't want to assume that like, oh, okay, I just refactored it. It's like, you might have broke it. Oh, and I just broke something there. This is probably from the NPM updates though. Let's go back and just restart my dev environment like so. It's very white. Okay, refresh here. And my 404 page is too bright, man. It's refreshing very slowly. That initial, oh man, did I get an error again? No, okay, there we go. Sometimes it throws me when it's like build page error. It's like, oh, it's building the error page. Okay. All right, so v86 auto resize. So if we double click Linux here, let me clear the cache first because the window sizes may have been cached already. So if I open up v86, why is this DevTools thing having such a hard time? Okay. Maybe I should zoom in a bit. Nah, let's not. So v86, start small, get big. The end. Small, big. Okay, cool. So that means it worked. Actually, that only means it worked for text size. So let's actually open up the Calibri one, because the Calibri one, there's the text one, but there's also a graphic mode, which is this one. It also just resized, so it worked. Felt nice and fast to me too. So there you go. And just like that, we're in a full GUI operating system with network support in my website. Maybe we'll have a tiny bit of fun with this like we always do. Let's try to connect to Freenode. Should have an IRC server. There we go. Connecting to chat.freenode. Looks like it's doing something. Let me make this window bigger. Couldn't look up your host name. Don't worry about it. Just connect me, dude. So this is supposed to be running through WebSockets. There we go. That's something. So in theory, I am now on IRC. So if I go join, let's say chat. They have a chat room called chat. And presumably there would be people in it if it opens. This is just the main console for an IRC client, this tab here. If my join command works, I should get a little chat tab here. It's not super performant, this x86 emulator running in Chrome, running IRC over WebSockets. You may be surprised to know it's not performant. Let me try running the join command again because it seems stubborn. What happened there? Seems like I have to accept something, or what happened here? Unknown connection. Yeah, it seems real shady. I don't know. Do I have channels? Isn't there some way to do channels like list? I don't remember all the IRC commands. Back in the day I did. Oh yeah, that did something. Oh, there we go. Oh, it just kicked in. See how slow it was? Oh, there's the list of all the channels. But here's chat. So there actually is chat. So I'm on the internet there. I can say hello and they'll tell me to go beat myself probably because that's IRC. But look at that. So that's cool. In the future, what I would love to have is network support in the boxed wine emulator that emulates Windows. Anyways, let's exit out of this. We can minimize, we can maximize, we can drag it around, we can close it. So refactored, simple, removed use callback from v86 screen size. And just to double check, yeah, that was all I did. And I did this little reacting. I'm not even going to mention that. Couldn't be more minor. So minor, I don't even mention it. Not even worth mentioning. Okay. Those are some things. We just done some things. What's the next thing? So this one here is interesting. What have I done here? This is part of a Webamp fix. But I'm not 100% sure for what. So we might just do all the Webamp stuff at once. Actually, I haven't changed much on, oh yeah. I haven't changed much as I keep scrolling and scrolling here. So I actually changed a bunch with Webamp. Oh man. I think some of it's related to that use callback stuff. All right, let's dig into Webamp. Why not? Let's do them one at a time, whatever makes sense. So I turned the pointer events to none. That actually makes sense. What does this solve though? That's what annoys me. And then what's this about? See, part of the issue is that Webamp has like this fake container Let me open this here. So here's Webamp here. So it looks normal, right? Everything looks fine. Everything looks safe. But you see, where is it here? Where's the Webamp app? It's in main. It's in, oh, it's right here. Ah, you see? So I'm hovering over that. You see how the entire page is being selected? That's this like fake Webamp way of managing the position, but I'm working within its bounds. I'm fine with that. And then within that, within many divs, it kind of makes sense at some point. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this piece and I'm saying no pointer events there. So when you click there, just go right through that. But then I'm saying pick right back up here at the Webamp. That's what I'm saying by here. I'm disabling pointer events, but I'm saying on your first div, go back to automatic. Why I'm doing that, I'm not 100% sure. So let's not apply that until we completely remember that. It looks like I've gotten rid of the need for doing the z-index command. I think I've made focusing a lot more clean. I just have to remember what the bug is. If you see there the notes behind me, the sticky notes, those are the things I've finished today or this week. I think there's like 8 new notes on there. I almost feel like I should bring them here so I can be like, oh, this is that fix. Maybe I should. I'm gonna go bring them. 1, 2, 3, 4. These ones here. I'll put them back up later. So I think these are what I did this week. I might have even done more. I think there's some I didn't do that I just made up. So let's find the Webamp bugs. Here we go. Show behind windows during minimize, restore, close, and open. Is that your card? So, right, let's take a peek at what that looks like. We got to open up another window here. So you see here if I minimize this window, that stayed in front of Webamp as it was minimizing. But a problem with Webamp right now is if you minimize, see it went behind the window during that transition. No es bueno. So we gotta fix that. Now to do that, I feel like it was a mixture of a lot of this gibberish code that I've changed. So let's just assume I like these changes, but I don't want to just do them blindly. I need to find a starting point. So let's just keep peeking at what I've done here. So this gets into one of those use memos too, which we're trying to remove. So what is this file? This is the Webamp index file. So let's take a peek at that. Webamp index, here it is. So right, so the first thing is this z-index. So the current logic is only when the stack order changes or when it's minimized or when the ID changes is the stack order recalculated. Now to me, I don't think that's necessary because anytime you look at the stack order, it should be correct. It's not like, oh, you looked and now it's in the wrong order. And there's no side effects to this. This is just math. So for that reason, I think I'm going to do that. Instead of making this function and then comparing it every time, or whenever these things change, which can be pretty often, I'm just going to remake it because it's pretty simple math. It might be easier, you know? So boom, that was a lot more clean, that piece. And this will be the theme with this refactoring of getting rid of the use memos and use callbacks, is there was stuff I probably didn't need. So there's another change I did here where I added a piece. I don't think we need that yet. That's not for focus. I'm just trying to see what else we have. This piece here might be for focus. This looks a bit confusing to me. I think I've changed this. Yeah, we don't need this z-index piece anymore. Why is that? Oh, I think I'm using, wait a minute here. Right. So what I'm doing, and this is a lot more clean, I think, is right. I think that was related to these pointer events. Is I think by doing this, I was like saying to the Webamp to go in front of its own little container. Oh, motorcycle outside. I don't know if you guys heard that one. So rather than telling the Webamp piece inside of my styled Webamp container, I'm just going to control the z-index here. And I think that's probably just made more sense from the start. So we'll get rid of this. And now this piece is basically just with that. And I don't need another condition there. That's more like that. Don't I have something else for it though? Why do I have it the way I have it? That's weird. In my old code, Or in my current code, I have minimized here. Oh, I don't need z-index, that's for sure. But why do I have minimized in my code? Interesting. Yeah, that's weird. So I don't know what I've done here. Let me make a note of that. For some reason in my array, sometimes it makes sense. So I'm basically saying, whenever minimize changes false or true, I want you to recheck this statement. That could make sense, but I don't remember why I added that. So we're just gonna keep doing the refactor the way it made sense, which was just removing the things I don't need anymore for now. Other things, oh, stack order I'm not using anymore, right? Right, that's a good point. I'm not using stack order either. Oh, okay. But I actually want this to be reconsidered each time, yeah. Anytime the stack order changes, actually only when it becomes the foreground ID. Yeah, that's the only time that this could ever occur. So, I question whether stack order is necessary too then. I wonder if I just legacy had that stuff in there for my z-index stuff. It didn't even make sense for z-index though. Why did I have that in my dependencies? These are the only three things I needed, were those three things. This is a ref, so it's fine. And this is straight from the document. So let's leave those out and see if that breaks the behavior or makes it better. I'm just gonna bet it'll probably make it worse somehow, because usually when the code's there, it does have a reason. So let's get rid of that set z-index piece. If we're not using it, intuitively I think I'm done using it, so I'm just gonna get rid of that function. And I'm not gonna do the pointer event piece yet, because I don't really understand it. Let's just see where that got us. Let's go back to the browser, refresh the page here, open this up, open that. I think that might have actually worked. Yeah, that did it. Look. Oh, not on open it didn't. Maybe that's that minimized thing. So watch, so it's focused here, and if I minimize, it stayed in front, but on open, it was in the back. Interesting. And if minimized had been in the depths, it would have rechecked. What if I do close? Does it stay in front? Okay, cool. For close, it stayed in front too. Was that the requirements? Shows behind window during min. So right now, now it shows in front for minimize and for close. What about for open? Okay, for open too. So it's only on restore it's not working right now. And I think that might have been the depths, the dependencies thing. So what if we add minimize here to the dependencies? Like so. So now when minimize becomes true or false, it's going to recheck this. And I'm hoping when minimize becomes false, this stuff will be true and it'll refocus, assuming. But let's see. I'll refresh the page again. So we open this. All right, that's in front. So we minimize. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Minimize. Okay, but if I max, maybe that's where this stack order part comes in. Let's add stack order into the mix too then. LMNOPQRS. Maybe we only need stack order. Let's just see if it works like that first. So we open Winamp, we minimize it, and we maximize it. This might just be a ongoing bug that I actually haven't fully fixed. Because I do remember it sometimes looking, like watch, right now it'll work. Yeah. But it's like if I just go straight to Winamp and just only focus on minimizing Winamp and then maximizing it. But let's try it the other way. Let's try it. We'll change it up here. So we minimize, okay, but then I'm gonna focus here and I'm gonna click the desktop. Now I'm gonna click Webamp. It's like the first restore didn't work. I wonder why. But watch. So now I'm focused this. Oh, something's weird. Oh, maybe this is that pointer events thing. Oh yeah. I can't even click the other window now. Okay, so maybe that's where that pointer events piece comes in. Let's take a peek at that. That's becoming important now. So that's in the styled Webamp piece. Oh, sorry, I don't know where I was flipping around. That's where I want it to be. So this is where I was looking for. Now let's go to styled Webamp. Styled Webamp. There you are. Right, so I want to say that its first div will have pointer events, but its main div does not. How does that help us? Let's try that. I don't know if that's going to help that foreground issue. So open works, close works, open works, minimize works, restore does not. Okay, but if I click this, at least I can click between the two now. For a moment that was locked. Watch now. So now I move this in front and I minimize and I restore. Huh. I don't know if I'm in the mood to solve that one today. I feel like I didn't have that issue though. Maybe we'll find that I fixed that in some other thing, but I feel like I've applied the code changes as they were. I just did that. I already deleted z-index. I shouldn't need the z-index thing. What about here? Well, I've already added back. So these didn't even help though, right? I don't need those then. Those didn't help the initial problem I'm having still. Let's add this to this next stream stuff. Webamp restore still starts behind Windows. Sometimes, not every time, sometimes. Otherwise, we've cut the dependencies down shorter than what it was last time. We've removed the need for the memo on z-index. What else? Oh, okay, that's something else there. Let's just see what we did there then. Let's just take a peek at the changes. So we removed the z-index. We removed the memo piece there. We removed, just mostly removing stuff, which I like to see. Yeah, just simpler code and moving z-index to another place to make them minimize, maximize stuff. So I'm going to say this one got fixed. And then the restore piece is another note. So let's just make a note of that. Webamp stays in front during close, min, and open, not max. I should put not restore. Actually, I'm not going to add that to the commit. Okay, simple enough there. Now I see there was one other little change I did, in which I started passing base name. Where is that here? In the load webamp, I've requested to get the name, which I have here. I think that's, so like, right, this is the ID3 support. So this is another one here, Webamp ID3 support. ID3 is like the tag information inside the MP3 that tells you what it is. Webamp has like a built-in detector, but I feel it was a little slow the way that it works. I'd rather just load the data ahead of time and not have to deal with any of their bugs or doing it their way. So we're gonna fix this next, I think. The first thing I wanted to do was, so it's gonna happen in load webamp where we get the data for the file, but I'm gonna pass the base name here so that if we don't have the ID3 information, it's gonna just do the file name, which is how it works in the real webamp. And I'm just gonna get the file name alone by itself here, because currently load webamp didn't even have the URL. And rather than pass it the URL, I'm just gonna straight pass it the base name. Save it a moment here. We'll import base name from path. We'll save it to get this fixed. And now we have to add the base name. We have to add that argument to the load webamp function, which we will do right now. I'm going to do go to definition to jump to it. Go to definition again. Did this take me to it? Yeah, this is it. Close this just to get less windows in our way. So this is big. First thing I think we can do, I think I removed this from being part of that memo garbage. Yeah, I've changed it up a bit here. I've made it a promise. Why did I do that? Anyways, let's get rid of use callback and see how that works. So again, it's the same story. So this load webamp, I've got a ton of dependencies, a ton of other code here where I'm saying, if any of these things change, rebuild the thing. And pretty much might as well just build the thing anyways. It's just building the function. It's not running it. Because it's just, yeah, just passing it along. It's not executing that code any more than it would inside the use callback. Unless the dependencies changed. But to be honest, yeah, if the dependencies, it's not a problem. I'll just remake the function every time, you know? Honestly, it's better. So there we go. So we refactored that little piece. Just got rid of use callback, basically. Hard to call it a refactor, honestly. But we've only just begun. I'm trying to look. I've changed quite a few little behaviors. In a bit, we're going to also update. Maybe, I don't know if I'll do the updates today, because it's an endless battle. There's new versions of like V86, Webamp, the milk drop animation stuff. But I might just hold off on that. I'm going to make a note of that too. Upgrade libraries. Yeah, libraries. Not dependencies, but the libraries. The libraries, which are the most delicious of the berries. I'm just kind of reviewing this code too to see if I missed anything else here. Right, I think this was a nice little fix I did for Webamp. Let's double check this, but yeah, I think I had this wrong. So if we go to Webamp again. Hey guys, hopefully I'm back. I'm hoping I'm back. I'm just gonna wait until I see on the live stream. Okay, it says I'm back. So yeah, sorry guys, you can't get rid of me that easily, but my OBS crashed on me. Not very nice of it, so I gotta switch back to what I was looking at here. We were looking at the code. I think I was bouncing around a bit, so maybe that caused part of the issue. So I wanted to focus on that ID3 thing first, but I've done a bunch of changes here. So let's just focus on one thing at a time. I'm jumping around. But for this commit, oh no, I have to update the thing again, OBS. Darn you, OBS. There we go. So first I was getting rid of the use callback piece. Let's change that back. Don't do that. So before we get into the ID3 piece, let's just do this, finish off this use callback refactor. So we got rid of use callback. We just call it like that. I wanted to see, for some reason I've switched to using an async function, which I don't know why the heck I've done that and why that works. Oh, because of the ID3 stuff, right? Yeah, to parse the ID3 takes a bit of time. And I guess if it were a promise, that would have been better. I don't know why. We'll tackle that in a minute. Yeah, I changed a mess of code in there. That's the problem. There's so many things I changed in there. So let's just look through this though, because right now all I removed is the use callback. Let's just see if that works. Does Webamp still work? Did I just break it? Webamp still seems to work reasonably good. Still drags around, closing it doesn't explode. Can reopen it, still works. Okay, cool. So I didn't, in theory, make it worse by getting rid of that use callback. And if we look, I actually got rid of a lot of code. Pretty much all the dependencies and the need for use callback at all. So maybe it's going to make the function more. It's not going to run it anymore. But it might end up making it a few more times, but it won't have to do any comparisons when the dependencies change or to keep track of that piece, is my hope. So let's do that one part. Removed use callback from load Webamp. The reason I want to commit that one and just slip that one in is because then I can focus on the other changes, hopefully. But I changed quite a few darn things in Webamp, more than I realize. I'm almost tempted to just copy. It's all isolated into this one file now. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up this file separately. There we go. Bring it into my code now. So that's that file. And let's just compare these two. Oops, I should say that this file is TypeScript, so it knows how to give it its pretty colors. Is it JSX? No, it's just TSX, or just TS. So we do compare. Oh, so only 1 million things changed. Great. Yeah, I really changed the heck out of this thing. Why did I change? Oh, these are not the same file. That's probably part of the confusion. Which is it then? What the heck? Yeah, this is for the butter churn upgrade. I'm not going to upgrade butter churn today, which is like the milk drop for Webamp, but for the web. I wanted, here we go. It was use Webamp. I don't know what the heck I opened. I actually opened the right file here. I just opened the wrong file in VS Code. So let's paste this once again. Close that comparison. Close this. And where's use Webamp? It's probably in apps, Webamp, use Webamp. Nice, that wasn't too hard to find. So here we go. I wanted to compare these to see what's left. All right, not a million changes, but I changed a lot. So first up is this. I was using close and minimize, but I think I've switched to a more simple, a more easy one, better one. So watch, when I close this, does it fade? It does. What does on close do then? Oh, right. Watch. So if I open a window and then I open Webamp, what I'd expect is if I close this for it to focus on the folder. But if I close it, it's not doing that. And that's something that's built into these window functions that I had, the use window action. And actually it totally makes sense to use it here. So right now here, I was actually grabbing the use processes hook and doing close, minimize, and doing it all manually. But I have functions for doing exactly that on the Windows, and I can just use the exact same ones in the Webamp app. So let's see where I was using this here. I might not even need the close with transition piece, honestly. Let's take a peek here. I think I don't even need that. That's why I'm confused by the refactor, because it's like I was able to remove so many things that it's a little embarrassing. Oh man, I did so many things to Webamp that we just got to look through this code. This is like part of the trying to look at people's PRs sometimes. And you're like, what did the guy do? But I'm the guy this time. Okay, so on will close. Right at the start, right at get with bounding, I basically, yeah, I didn't need this anymore, but I still needed this. Why couldn't that be part of the button? But then did I get rid of this? There's several other issues too. There's so many little bugs I'm remembering now. So first thing we need to do is look at what the onClose function does to see what I'm replacing here. So onClose, it removes from stack. That is something I wasn't doing before. Close the transition, nice, that I need. And then this one here, the set the next focusable ID. Right. So that's better than what I was doing here with close and just using it for this. So I'll just do on close instead. And now I don't need close. And then same for minimize here. I had this minimize and passing the ID. I can just do on minimize like that, I think even. No, I can't do that, clearly. It's not happy with that. This is it happy with though? Or does that make no sense? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Here, there we go. And what's it saying there? An argument for event was not provided. What event? Did this used to do more than it does now? Okay, I had a... Nope, that's how that should be. What happened here? Okay, well I don't need that anymore. Don't need the hook. Don't need to close the transition. So we're getting rid of a lot by using the on close and on minimize. It's complaining about both of them though. I don't know why. An argument for event was not provided. Oh, I'm supposed to pass in an event? Says who? What? That is just not the case. That's weird. I didn't get that error when I was building it. Let me close this and open that again because I just don't believe it. Expected? No. Oh, it's possible. It's possible. Okay, maybe I just need to tweak these. They shouldn't be expecting that. So let's just go to the use window actions and slightly tweak them. So here they are here. So yeah, actually that's true. For on minimize and for on close and for on maximize, there's no event that I'm taking here. So none of these are actually mouse handlers. They're actually just functions to run that take no arguments and they're just dumb functions. So I actually should have written this like that. I'm assuming I've done that refactor as well. So let's try that. So now when we go to the browser and we open Webamp and we close, there we go. It focused on the right thing. And minimize still works. Nice. And I think that minimize was better too. Yeah, the minimize here also does the same thing where it sets focusable on the next one, which is what we want. Okay. So we fixed, is that a bug that was listed here? Oh yeah, I had that one here. So let's put this ID3 one aside for a second. I haven't got to that yet. So this was not passing focus properly on minimize. Great, it was the same on close. So that's been fixed now. Close this. See here, we just changed tweaked that. Which I think is how, yeah, that's how I have it in the refactored code as well. And here we went to on close instead of using close and minimize. And didn't remove too many lines, but we removed a couple. And we fixed something, which is also nice. So this fix was Webamp focuses next window on close / minimize / min, whereas before it was not. Okay, another one in the fix bucket. So there's so many things I did here. That one we just dealt with. That file name thing is part of the ID3. The ID3 is like a piece on its own. We might come back to some of these to figure out what all the other things are I did. Actually, I had that comparison file that I just closed that was pretty valuable. Let's just move past this Webamp stuff for now. I'm a little tired of it at the moment. Let's move on to the rename box. What did I change here? Same story, the use callback stuff. Let's do another use callback one. Just search for use callback. It's probably the next thing. Okay, let's just fix them. Let's just fix them in the order they are on the page here, because it's easier for me to follow. So here's another one for the rename box. Hopefully we can just remove more code. So we got save rename, and then it just runs directly here. Yeah, that doesn't need to be memoized either. It's an extremely simple command. Let's just put it right like that. So that's save rename now. And that didn't change anything of value. Yeah, that's all that needed to change. Oh, there's another nice change I did here in a moment that I'll add. But that's it. What did I just change here? What did I just do? I don't like this position of this. Let's move this up here for files changed, and here for the files, and here for search, and the bottom for open editor. That's confusing, but let's just try it out. So yeah, I just removed another use callback for renaming files. Oh, for on blur of the rename. Wait a minute, what is it? Oh yeah, for saving on blur. Is that the only time it's used? I thought I used it. Oh, okay, I use it here on key down too. So let's test it out. Make sure I didn't break it. So we'll try it right here. Rename meow, and I blur off, and it's saved. I do woof, and I press enter, and it's saved. Okay, and I refresh the page. Still woof. Cool. So that worked. So removed use callback from rename box. Another one bites the dust. I'm just going to list these like that. Maybe I should do remove use callback from lock mouse. Oh, I got a bug here. Bugging me. Maybe these should be capitalized because capital letters are cooler. I think I'd close the window for the bugs, but then it would just get insanely hot in here, so I won't. All right, another one done. Removed use callback from rename box. Is that all I did? Okay, so another one. Oh right, this gets into the needing to do the show extensions thing. Because I have a new way to do rename where it makes sure not to rename the extension, but I'm still not showing extensions. Let's get back to that later. Let's do more use callback stuff. I want to get rid of all the use callbacks I can. So here's another one in file entry index. That's this one here, yeah. So here I was doing a memo and a use callback that I've tried to get rid of. So the first two are these delete entry and rename. Again, I'm okay for this to get recreated if it needs to. The question I have to keep asking, if the function's going to get made anyways, do I care to keep track of these little things? And I don't think so, because it's pretty simple function. And to just make it and not compare and not think about it, it seems easier to reason about at least. So just like that, we got rid of use callback. But let's try to get rid of the use Memo too. It's the same thing. This is so basic. Just a view changes, okay. But this is just such an easy comparison. Let's not do use Memo either, you know. If it's slow, then I'll optimize it. But otherwise, just more code in the way. So yeah, there we go. Less code. Remove use callback, use Memo for file entry vars. I'll say, yeah, that's good. Yeah, then I don't, let me just say /use Memo here, and then we can just keep on that same way of noting it. Next up in this page, those were just those, so that was that. I like when I can minimize a whole file, because it's like, that's less to worry about. Here's another one for the file entry as well, for use file. It's probably in my search, yep. So this one for open file recreates this function every time based on quite a few dependencies. And they're pretty much the URL and PID are the ones that are the props here. And if these props are all the other props, so it's pretty much like needs to change all the time anyways. So it's just a waste of time comparing it. Let's not. There we go. Oops. I missed a piece. I deleted a bit much. There we go. So open file in the use file, didn't need it either. Yeah. What were the last two? I removed the file entry vars and the use file. What were the file entry vars again? They were for deleting and renaming and for single click. Delete, rename, single click, and open. Let's test those out. We can test a lot of those at once. So here we can test single click and open at once. Click. There we go. Single click worked, open worked. Delete worked, and rename still worked. Cool. Let's reset all this to get everything back to how it was before. So there we go. We just tested those three things, and we just removed that. Got to commit it. Removed use callback from open file. Open file. What's next? All these useless use callbacks. Here's a nice little thing I'll end up needing later that I'll just do a quick one. So like I was saying how I want to show extensions later, the one exception is shortcuts. Directories don't have short extensions, so they're also an exception, but they don't have extensions, so it's just it doesn't matter. But I want to make this a constant, .url, just because that's my shortcut syntax, so shortcut file extension format, and I want it to be a constant, because I like constants. I'm going to PQRS, export const, I called it shortcut extension, and it's just the .url. We're going to use that anywhere that we were using .url, which was a couple places. Here, we'll import that. And not there, not there. Oh, those are libraries. Okay, so that was actually the only place right now. In the future, we're going to use it in at least one more place. But for now, for this file, that was it. So we'll just call that a really simple... Oh no, I didn't commit this part yet. Oh no, this is the same thing, sorry. So extracted out shortcut extension constant. Riveting, I'm sure. Oh, I got a message here from Mick. Came in 9 minutes ago. Sorry to not see it sooner. He said hello. Hi, thanks for visiting. Happy to have any visitors. Feel free to throw some comments or anything you want to say. What did I just have in my clipboard? Right, I just committed this change, which was extracted out shortcut extension into a constant. Much more clear. Huge difference. Not really. Okay, next up. So, oh, the selection stuff, right. We haven't got there yet. That's a whole one of those features that I was telling you guys about that I haven't done yet. So, and that's also for extension here. Here's where I did the thing to hide the extensions. Let's get to that. let's just show them, sorry. I prefer to show the file extensions when possible, even though I made this code and it doesn't do that by default, but now it's gonna, because that's what I prefer now that I actually thought about what my preference was. So let's open it and see where was the change. So first thing I did is imported that extension, shortcut extension. And actually at the same time I exported this out. Mountable extensions, it's another perfect constant to move into the constants. Put it here, say export. There we go. That fits right in with these, with that one. And we'll just import both of those then. Cleans that up a little bit at the same time. So how did I do this? I got a bunch of selection stuff here that is not relevant. Here it is. So here within the name, basically for name, the way I have it right now is you can do base name and then it gets like the name, which is what I want, like the whole name. But like if I just did this, that would get me all of the URLs with like the extensions, including the .url one. So what you do here is you can specify the extension that you don't want to show. And for that, I'm just going to do the shortcut extension. So with those two simple little changes, now if we go back to this, you see here the shortcuts don't have .url, but if I open up this, you'll see the session is .json, the desktop favicon is .ico. So now you know what the file extensions are, which is nice to know. You see these are shortcuts, so they don't have file extensions. This one is, so now it's .jsdos. So if you double click it, it opens in JSDOS. You can also right click and you see there from that icon that is JSDOS. I might have an open with in the future. I will for sure. So anyways, that one's working. So that was the first little bit of the file extension piece. Let's double check the changes. We moved out mountable. And right now we show file extensions. So I'm going to say show file extensions except shortcut slash directory. Well, I shouldn't even have to put slash directory because directories just don't have file extensions. There we go. Show file extensions. We'll note that here. And what other changes did I do here? So the ref piece is because of the selection. And as I don't want to quite get into the selection piece just yet. Here's another removal of use callback in the use file drop piece, which is the next one. For some reason, I missed double click, or did I not? I don't know. We'll get to the double click one later. We'll get there. Let's do this one next. So this one also has another use callback for on drop. And then on drop, let's just double check where on drop is going to be happening. On drop, I'm using exactly, where am I using it? Use file drop. I think I'm just directly dumping that into an element. Yeah, here we go. So it's going straight into an element. So every time this renders, it's going to run this anyways. So memoizing this on drop event, it's going to remake it. And then only if those three things change is it going to use the newer one. Let's just always have it make a newer one again. Again, it just doesn't make sense. If we memoize the entire component, maybe, there's an argument to be made that it can be done. We have the technology. I'm just going to double check if I changed anything else in this file, because I don't think I did. But it made it smaller, which is nice. Another thing with the use callback is like you kind of indent one level more, so now we get to indent back, which is also why I was confused if I changed anything here, but it looks like I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I changed anything else for the drop. I'm going to minimize this confidently, partially confidently, saying I didn't change anything else there. And we'll just take a quick peek. Oh yeah, so that's cool. It made this shorter because, like I said, we got those 2 extra characters without the indenting. And no more dependencies. So does on drop still work? Let's test. I'll just drop, oh, let me refresh the page. Drop my show notes in. Yep, they worked. .md. Ooh, I don't like the way it abbreviated that. One problem at a time. I should have put that all in one line, but it's decided to break on dashes. Can make a note to fix that. don't break on dashes for file name truncation. For next stream, I'll figure out that one. Don't want to think about it this time. So that was it for drop, but I didn't commit the code yet. Right. Removed use callback for file drop. So many things I've removed use callback for. Kind of makes you wonder if it was necessary. Oh no! I realized I missed a piece there. There we go. I missed this import. I'm gonna do the part. I'm just gonna say part 2. That's a gross commit, but that was just a slip up on my part. I forgot to remove the import after. Wasn't needed though, so I'll add this to the list here for file drop as well. Hopefully I haven't missed any, but it's not like this has to be perfectly 100% accurate. So what's next? We got to use files hook. Wait, isn't this the one I changed already? Maybe not. Oh, okay. Maybe the file name rename piece. Oh yeah, this is going to affect the renaming, I think. Yeah. Right. So for shortcuts, when you rename a shortcut, you don't want it to remove the .url. So we need to make sure that that remains when we rename shortcuts. And we also want it to be so that when you press rename now on a file, the selected piece is the non-extension, the name part, because that's how it works in Windows. So we're going to figure those things out. First, we're going to get rid of some use callbacks, which are in the use files. I think this was one of those cases where I couldn't get rid of all the use callbacks. Oh, there's use file and use files just to confuse myself. Yeah, see, I've got 3 use callbacks here, and this update files one, I think at the moment it seemed necessary. I couldn't quite figure out how to not need that one because it got in like a loop with set files and the fact that I don't know quite why it got in a loop, honestly, but I don't want to really figure it out right now. Let's just get rid of the ones that I could get rid of. This one was like, this one's a to be continued one. Maybe I'll make a note about that one. Remove use callback from update files. I'll try next episode. This episode, I'm not going to do it. Not going to give it a shot. Let's just remove it from delete file. So delete file, yeah, like, well, yeah, I don't know why it makes a difference, but that's just part of the testing. Let's just do the 1 for now. So, oops, delete file and rename file. We're going to get out of use callback and just make those every time. Oh, that's why with update files. So the reason update files is being wonky is because I'm using it this weird way where I'm making sure it runs on initial run. This might have been a good opportunity to do the use Memo instead. Maybe. What if it's, yeah. Because then it's going to run the first time. But why do I care to have it run the first time? Oh, because it updates the files the first time. Okay. Yeah, because if it's a use Memo, then it's not. Well, I've already made a note to deal with this next episode, so we'll figure it out. But this is part of the reason why it's linked in with this. So use callback is somehow managing the dependencies better than I could here. Maybe what I would need to do is maintain this, but just have that when the directory changes, run update. What if I do that? On directory change, we run update files. That's more sensible from a declarative point of view. Maybe I can do it like that. If directory changes, update files. And then in update files here, I don't need to use callback. What if I do that? Maybe. If that's the case, I've gotten rid of use callback. So we need to test these ones. This one will be for the refreshing of the file list, for deleting files, and for renaming. And in my last time I did this, I didn't get it working, but let's give it a shot. So we refresh here. So it still looks good there. What if I open File Explorer? That looks okay. That actually seems okay. It's not exploding. If I close something, oh, it's acting weird about focusing. Watch, if I close this, well, there's some weird focusing issue going on. I don't know if that's related to this or if this is just a different bug. Let me try undoing that change and see if it actually fixes it again. Watch, let's put this back. Okay, that was like that. Now when I go here and I open a folder, open, close. No, okay, so the focus thing is some other thing I broke. But let's put this back to this, and we got rid of use callback from here. This makes more sense now. When directory or fs changes, update the files. And now delete and rename also. Let's double check those again. And we'll have to make a note about this focus bug. So let's try to delete this. Delete. Okay, that worked good. What about deleting? Some of these are serious. Some of these you don't want to delete. I could delete this icon, I guess. Let's delete the Doom icon here. Delete. Okay, that worked. And what about renaming one? Test. Cool. So you see there how the shortcut, yeah. So on Windows, when you do rename and you see the whole extension, if I rename it, that changes the extension. That's not working here. It's keeping the extension, so I don't want that. But everything else worked fine. So I got rid of use callback from here actually this time. So that's better. So we actually don't need the note here about that, but we do need to figure out fix broken next focusable for File Explorer, maybe for everything, who knows. That's not working anymore, but this worked. So we just got rid of more code, which is always nice. Remove use callback for use files. Oh, I put fro, not for. Darn it. Oh well, that's in the notes forever now. That's in the commit history. I'm accepting that. Let's go back and see. What are we at? An hour 13. I think we made some progress. So deleting didn't change. Renaming changed here. So I've changed it very slightly. Let's take a peek. So in use files under rename here, I had new path, and what I've changed it to is this. So that part stayed the same. So now instead of going, right, that the new path was going to be extension name. Oh, okay. So the name of it and then the extension. What I've done is the name that I've set. Path ends with. All right. But if the entire path, if it turns out it's a shortcut, then add shortcut because we never showed it originally in the name. Otherwise, don't add anything for the extension. Okay. So that's what I wanted there. Otherwise, I didn't change that anymore. I need to import this again, the shortcut extension, constant. We don't need extension name anymore. Okay, let's see if that behavior is better now the way I wanted it. So now, when we go to a file, let's say this one. So now when I press rename and I go test, there we go. So the file icon changed because the whole extension's gone now. And if I rename it to test.iso, there we go, the ISO is back. So you notice how when I press rename, though, it selects the entire name. I only wanted to select test. So let's figure that part out too. Actually, what did I just do here? Let's just start with this as a commit. This commit was rename add shortcut extension for renames. Add shortcut extension only. Oh wait, I'll put add extension only for shortcuts during rename. Not the best description, but I'm done thinking about it. Save a note of it there. And that was it for that file. Now going back to the rename piece. That was in the rename box, I think. Where was that? Yeah, here. Rename box. So when you're renaming it, the rename box here, currently this text here just selects the entire thing. And what I wanted to change it to was basically this. Drum roll. There we go. So there's another one you can do. Instead of just saying select, you can say set select range, starting at the first character, the 0th character, and going to the length of the name minus the extension name, basically. And we have to monitor the name dependency. Get rid of this select. There we go. So now when we do a rename of a file like this, if I go rename, you see it just selected Linux 4. So now if I just type Linux 5 and press enter, it changed it to an ISO. There we go. So now we have better renaming, much better, much more like how Windows is. So only, don't select extension during rename. There we go. Refactor number 87, it feels like. So that was the end of that piece that I didn't do last time. So we still have the Webamp piece that I didn't completely finish that one file. We'll get back to that. This is the selection piece. We'll get back to that. This is also just selection. Everything else we've already done. This is also selection. There's a lot of selection stuff. Okay, here we go. Here's something. The file manager padding. Oh, for the list. Okay. So when you click the start menu here, you see how there's no padding on the left. It turns out what I've noticed is that there's like the nav bar that has the power buttons, and then that one has 7 padding on its right, and then the file manager has 7 padding on the left. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case, but that was my intuition on it. And it looks like I've changed it from padding to margin for some reason. I don't care why. There we go. We'll just set those. And I've also done width 100%. Why did I do that? Is that necessary? Doesn't feel necessary. Let's uncomment that for a second. Let's refresh this page and just peek at it here for a change, up the top one. So this was the start menu. Okay, yeah, you see now there's a little bit of padding on the left. So the margin piece did work fine. And as far as the width 100% thing, I don't really know why I thought I needed that, so I'm not gonna put it right now. Maybe I'll need it later. But for now, let's not put it there, and I hesitate to even leave that page open, but let's. Okay, so added margin to left of file manager list view. Pretty minor. It builds on when we get into this nav piece. This is more selection stuff. What is this? This is the menu resetting. Ah, it's another use callback. We got so many use callbacks to get rid of, guys. It's just never ending. I'm surprised actually that there are so many. Here we go. So this is in the system menu. Another one, very simple. Let's not get use callback involved here. Let's just run the function. I have such an overuse of use callback. So this will reset the menu on blur and on picking an item. Menu being the start menu, that is. So let's try. We blur, it goes away. We pick an item, it goes away. Still works. Great. Another thing we didn't need use callback for. Removed use callback from reset menu. Looks like I removed it from pretty much every single thing I have. There's another one. And that was all that I did there. So here we go. Here's the icons. So I got the icons. I got them through extracting the font, basically, and then converting it to SVG, and then optimizing the SVGs to be as small as possible. Ah, actually, that's another piece too. I noticed that I didn't have this piece of the SVGs, but I think it's pretty standard and pretty required. I'm pretty sure. Let's try something out here. W3C SVG validator. I don't know if you can validate SVGs, markup in general. Let's see if this, is it happy with that? 2 warnings. Those are minor, but what if I remove this? Does it more mad? Are there more warnings? How do I revalidate? 3 warnings now. What's the third one? Unable to determine parse mode because this was missing, which was that piece, right? Yeah, the XML NS. So yeah, that was not good. These 2 were chill. So I had SVGs that didn't have this. So I'm just gonna add that as a first piece of my code here. We're gonna look for SVG. So there's only a few of them, but as you see here, I didn't have that piece, and I think it should be in every SVG. I think it's pretty important to the spec. So there we go. I'll say, where's the change? Added XMLNS to SVGs. I'll say XMLNS spec, because it's got this file to the specification right there. There we go, the endless list of things I refactored. So back to these icons here. Maybe it's time to do the left nav. I think it probably is. So let's just copy these in. I mean, basically, like I just told you, I took the TTF font, converted to an SVG font, extracted the icons that I needed, and then ran those through a SVG compressor that kind of cuts it down to the bare minimum. So I made these simple icons here. And yeah, let's just get in. We're gonna start dumping some code here with this start menu one. So let's just do that first. So system start. Oh, let's jump into the code. Sorry guys. System start menu, and I made a folder called sidebar here, and then within the sidebar icons.tsx file I've made here, I'm just going to paste those, and they're TSX because they're making these JSX SVG elements. Save that. So the icons that I want to replicate are the all apps, the side menu, the documents, and the power icon. Those are some of the base ones that are on the start menu, and those are the ones that I kind of keep visible for me personally. So those are the ones I decided to show. And they're basically just SVGs, just like every other SVG. So we're going to say we got that piece of the sidebar, and I'm just going to go right on to the styling of the sidebar and the button. Wait a minute here, styled sidebar button. There's quite a few pieces to this sidebar, so it'll be fun. Let's try to jump. What did I just copy there? The icons. Okay, the icons are simple, but let's try to go in a more sensible order now and find where we're going to put this sidebar. Here it is here on the start menu. So let's go to the main start menu here. So here it is here. Right now it's just that file manager, which is the piece here, that thing on the top. This is a file manager with those 2 list items. And we're basically just going to put the sidebar right beside it. Oh, actually I noticed here that there's another, wait, what have I changed? The sidebar icons. Let's just make a note of that. Added sidebar icons, even before I've done the other steps. Close some of this junk in my way here so I can get to my notes, which I can't seem to get to. There we go. Added sidebar icons, yeah. Actually, let's call this part of the apps and system and say sidebar and say, put it there. This is the first thing that I've kind of done a component. These other things were all mostly tweaks, it looks like. Yeah, they were tweaks, but this is a legitimate new component called the sidebar that we're doing. It's going to go to the left of in the start menu. So we added the icons. That part's done. Next part, I'm going to get rid of this use callback, another one. So maybe close menu. Again, I just go straight to the element. So let's just render it when the element needs it. And however many times that is. So now it's complaining because before use callback didn't care, but now it cares what this was. Interesting that wait, what did I get rid of? Yeah, interesting it didn't complain before. This is another thing, and the TypeScript's actually more accurate, it seems. So I've changed it to make a note that it's a React focus event handler for an HTML element. And I also needed to note here that it's an HTML element. So unfortunately, I needed to add a few things there. Oh man, I've changed the logic here slightly, have I? Menu current next sibling. Right, okay. So I've done the same here. Maybe I should just change this related target to be called target. No, we'll just do it again. So I don't like doing this too many times where you're like, as this, as that, but I'll do it a few more. Everything else seems fine, but it's complaining. Returns the next sibling. Oh, okay, this needs to exist now. So that has to exist. So what's the next sibling again? This was just making it more declarative. Before this was more loosey-goosey. So this was already saying the menu. What the heck does this mean? I should have labeled whatever the heck next sibling is supposed to really mean, because it would have made it a lot easier to understand. I think the basics for next sibling I decided were that it's like for focusing on the start menu, the way it's positioned within the DOM. But I really should relabel this to something that's a little more intuitive for me, because I've forgotten what this is supposed to be. Let's take a peek at it. Console log, what is that element again? Because I've forgotten. Oh, it's the taskbar. It's this element. So I'm saying the taskbar needs to exist. Oh, so if we click the taskbar, don't close. So I'm saying if you clicked within the taskbar, so I could call this taskbar, I guess. Taskbar element. That looks a tiny bit cleaner, because then you know what that was supposed to be at least. And then for this related target thing, what's the related target supposed to be? It's like what you clicked to get you out. No, let's not mess with it. So it already said next sibling before, so this is just a problem for another day. All that my refactor was basically removing the use callback, which made me required to type this properly. And when I TypeScripted properly, I realized there was some logic here where, hey, if this hadn't existed, then it shouldn't have ran includes. So TypeScript kind of saved my butt there a little bit. Not that it was a huge problem anyways. But let's just see. Was there anything else to that change? No. And then putting sidebar there. Right. Yeah, so first we were going to remove use callback. Remove use callback from menu close. Menu closing, I'll say. Another one I got use callback out of. Close all this stuff. I got too much stuff open again. So back to this page. So the first place I want to deal with the sidebar thing, now that we have the icons, we have the use callback cleared out of the start menu, we need to put the sidebar before the file manager, basically. And I'm just going to call it sidebar, and I'm not going to pass any props to it. And we're just going to put that it's going to exist here. It's going to be called sidebar. We've already made the folder called sidebar. We'll make an index file inside it called index.tsx. And that's where this piece will exist, basically. So that's all that we do from the start menu page point of view, is we just added the sidebar here. And then as far as everything about what the sidebar does, we'll deal with that on the other page. So if I go check it here, it crashes. Why did it crash? Oh, because I don't have the sidebar yet, of course. I haven't made the thing. So when I try to click the start menu, it tries to load the sidebar, and it's like, you don't have a sidebar. What are you talking about? So there's some things. Why did I switch this to flex? Okay, one thing at a time here. Here's the sidebar. Let's import the sidebar now. And let's look at what I did for the sidebar. because I've tried to be somewhat clever, which means it probably is confusing as hell. So we're missing the styled sidebar and the styled sidebar button. We'll get to the styling of those in a moment. So the sidebar button props, what does it need? It needs to know if it's the active button. In other words, in the start menu, let's say you click between the square views, what is it called? Tile view and the list view. Between which view is active, it'll be like blue with the highlight color. So we want the button to be able to represent that. The button needs to have a name and it needs to have an icon. And that's alphabetical. There we go, fix that before we commit that. The active part is optional, but it needs an icon and a name. And I've made the buttons here. I've realized that the buttons for the start menu on the left are separated into things on the top and things on the bottom. So I've made a top buttons section and a bottom buttons. The top one's called start in capital letters, and it's that side menu icon. These are the icons that we already have here. The all apps one is the all apps icon, and it's active. That's because I want the list view, not the tiles, which I'm not even going to recreate because I hate the tiles, honestly. Although I do use them sometimes, so I might recreate them one day. And then the bottom button is just documents, which is the document icon, and power, which is the power icon. And I haven't connected these to actual functionality yet. So it's just right now icon, but at some point we'll have a function here probably too, or we'll see. I don't know what I'll do there. One step at a time. And then as far as the sidebar, all that it is the styled sidebar, which is I haven't made that yet. What is the styled sidebar supposed to be? It's a nav element, semantic nav element, like arrow, nav, arrow. And within it is an ordered list, and within that list is the buttons. So the way I have the sidebar here is that it goes through the keys for the top buttons and the bottom buttons. The keys being, oh, not the keys, entries, sorry. So it breaks it into the entry, and the key is this. How does this work? What did I do here? Oh, right. So it breaks it into like top buttons is the key, and these are the entries. The buttons. Nice. So I've mapped it this way, yeah, where I've made this top and bottom with the key and the button, and then I make two different OLs. I make an organized list for the top buttons and an organized list for the bottom buttons. And the key based on that, and then the buttons, that is this array, it maps through them based on the sidebar button, which is a component. So it passes it to that, which has the three pieces, the active, the icon, and the name like we have here, which are those props that were defined up there. And then this is just the basic rendering of it. So this is that LI item in the organized list, the list item. And it's just your typical figure like I do with all the other things. A figure where it's got the icon and it's got the name. And we've got the key for it. Wait, do we need a key here? I don't think we do. Why do I have the key? I'm not sure if I need a key or not. I feel like I don't. Let's go like this and make a comment there to see if it complains that I need a key. Active we need to pass, yeah. Okay, so now let's get into the styled pieces. We got the styled sidebar and the styled sidebar button. So the styled sidebar, like I said, is the nav. We'll make that here. This should be like that. There we go, I like that. So this will be the styled sidebar.ts. And what was the other one? We'll make that one too. Here it is, styled sidebar button.ts. And I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna copy those. Let's get the styled sidebar and see what we did there to make that work. Actually, watch, let's do this. Let's cut out the CSS first and just get it going because we're close. Wait, was that the button? That was not the button. This is supposed to go here. And then the button one, I will also copy, and then we're going to go through the CSS separately, but I want to see if we've gotten far enough to where we can render stuff. There we go. So as we show here in the sidebar button, the styled sidebar button can have active. So we know if we want to highlight color it, which is what we passed here, active in that. So now these three pieces should work. If I close this and open this, it shouldn't complain. There we go, it's got that. Oh, I'm sorry guys. Again, I hate when I'm not jumping to the code. It's so sloppy of me. So I made the two components, but without the CSS. This one can take an active. There's the active piece right there. So that should be enough to render it. Let's refresh the page here and let's see. So I click it. Ooh, it looks different. There's the word start. It definitely, let's take a look at the markup. I mean, we're gonna add the CSS and I'm hoping that okay, wait, interesting. So we got that key error. So we did need key. Let's put key back. There we go. We needed that. Refresh this. So if I open that, okay, didn't visually improve at all. Oh, interesting. I think it's because it's physically all at the bottom. Oh, maybe let's see if it's as simple as that display flex piece. Where is that? That's for the selection stuff. This we just copied and explained. That we're using. Here. So for the styled start menu, I might need to display it flex. Just in order for it to exist where it's got the sidebar and it's got the file manager. I want those to exist a little bit better together. Let's try it now. There we go. That's better. So you see we still have our file menu entries here. Oh, okay. I think when I did display flex, that's why I needed that width. Because you see now these are squished. So let's go back to that styled file entry for the list. No, that's not where it was. Styled file manager. Here we go. This was supposed to be width 100%. So now in the start menu, there we go. So those go the full width now. So you see these buttons are a little off. They're the right buttons. They got the words, but I need to fix the visuals. So let's do that. So here's the styled sidebar. Let's take a look at that. That one is not too hard for what I did. I basically just did these 4 things. So we made it flex. We got it flexing column, which might be the default. Let's double check that. We got space between, so that, remember how we have 2 OLs. We have a top and a bottom. So if I space them between, one's gonna go to the top and one's gonna jump to the bottom. And why have I done padding 4? There's a reason for that. Let's check. Okay, so maybe that flex direction piece is needed. There we go, that looks better. So it's top to bottom. The text, yeah, the icons are there. They're just too big right now still. And as far as the 4 pixel padding, let's not do that. Oh wait, on top? Okay. Oh, right. So you see here how there's that 7 pixel padding for the file entry. I noticed that the nav bar button started at the 4 pixels. So, but I should use margin because I remember I used margin for the other one, for its top. So I think I got it there. Hard to tell. Let's comment it out for a second and get back to it because I'll increase it to something. Actually, let's increase it to something nutty and see. What if it's 40? The thing should be pushed down. Yeah, there we go. It's really pushed down. So 4 should have been good. That's what I wanted there. Now, it still looks ugly. So now we get to the most important piece, which is the buttons. If we get the buttons looking right, I think the rest starts to look correct just automatically. So the button is here and the styling is like so. And let's try to pick apart what I did here. So there's a lot of styling going on there. There we go, I got my spaces back. So first thing I did is I added a border. Let's do these one by one actually, because this can be fun. It makes it more fun. What I'm gonna do is go into the start menu and I'm gonna disable the blurring. So as soon as it opens, it won't go away and then we can look at it better. So it's open, there we go, it's not going anywhere. So first thing was the border transparent. The reason I have a transparent border is so that when you hover and I add a border, that it doesn't shift where the border comes and goes. So that's for the hover piece. Let's add that too. Oh, we'll just put this here. So hover, we got that. So now when we hover, you see there we got our little outline when I hover over the stuff. If we add the background color, you see now we got that as well when we hover. In the future, we're going to have a better effect, but we're not there yet for that one. So that looks a little weird still. So display flex, did that? Okay, that actually makes it look a little bit nicer too. It kind of shrinks it a bit and tames it slightly. Now we're going to set the height to 48. Now we have, you see where we have the top icons and the bottom icons. They're starting to come together there. The 48 height is good, but we need to set a few other things too, such as the width. So we're going to set the width also to 48, and we'll comment these out for a second. There we go. So now those are squishing good. The document one still isn't, but let's see what else we can do about that. So remember we wanted margin on the right for the, wait, did we want it for the buttons or for the entire nav? Maybe that shouldn't be there, and instead that should be here. Yeah, I think that makes more sense there. There we go. Not on a per button basis. So I'm surprised that this document icon is still so big, but we haven't got there yet. So what does this place center stuff do? Okay, let's not do that just yet. Now, the before thing allows us to make a pseudo element. So I've added a pseudo, oh, let me copy this from here. There we go. I've added this pseudo element that adds the left border, which is the highlighter, to the active element. So if the element is active, which is that variable we pass, then we have a highlight on the 4 pixels on the color. And the reason it's a pseudo element is because it doesn't affect the positioning of the icon or its text. It's kind of like another element over top. Same height, same width, and it's positioned absolutely, which just keeps it right where it is actually, which is fine. So now when we press save, you see now there's a little bit of a blue icon here on this one here, a little blue side thing. Because that's the active one. Next up is, this is inside this figure. I'm gonna just shrink all these things. So the first thing is we don't want to show the text right now because I actually haven't solved that piece yet. So in the future, I'm going to have it when you hover the button that the thing gets bigger and you see, and instead of just the buttons, you'll also see the text that is already there. But I don't have that piece yet, so we're just not going to do that yet. So for now, fig caption display none for the text. But that got rid of more than I expected. Why? Okay. One thing at a time then. We've already got most of these pieces. Maybe that's where this comes in with the icons. Let me try this now if I center it. No, that didn't help. Let's not do that piece yet. So the next, wait, let's get rid of this then and leave that until last because I don't know why it was so drastic with its effect. So let's comment back these pieces and see what's this do. So this is for the color of the text. Right, we want the text to be white. So there we go, that looks nicer. And for if it's highlighted, it's blue. That's correct. Now the SVG is the icon. So the icon, we also want the same color as this. And the icon height is it's a 16 height icon. And then I've done this little margin left 1, margin bottom -1. Basically, that was just the little bit of adjustment I noticed was needed to get it centered the way that it's centered on Windows. So we'll save that. There we go. That's a progress. So you see now we got the words still. So now let's try to get rid of those words and see if it cooperates. There we go. So now we got rid of the words too. And now we just need to center those icons, which is probably this piece. Place content center, place item center. Boom. And now they're starting to look a bit more like Windows icons. You see? And they're the same SVGs. We got the highlight one, we got the start one, we got documents, and we got power. And in the future, when you hover over those, it's going to bring out another layer of blur and another menu that has those words. And when you click them, they're going to do stuff, of course. Although actually these two aren't going to do anything really, but they don't really do anything in Windows either. So like when you're already selected the program list, clicking it doesn't really do anything. And the start button up here doesn't really do anything at all. This document is going to open up one of the docs folders, I guess, and the power button, I haven't decided exactly what it's going to do just yet. Something cool. Yeah, I don't like that border, but we're going to work on the border later. In the future, there's going to be like a flashlight effect on these buttons, I'm hoping. That's my hope for it. So let's fix this blur so that our menu can close again. There we go. And let's review what we changed here. So we've essentially got a sidebar now, and our start menu looks a lot more like a Windows start menu, just with that one little addition. Not that it was a minor one. Let's just go over it here. So we had to do 100% width on the file entries for the list, because once they were part of display flex, they didn't just take up all the width that they could. But we wanted that. We imported the sidebar right into the start menu. And then as far as the sidebar itself, we've kept it pretty simple. It's basically just that nav OL elements with the LIs. And then we're doing the flex top and bottom to put some of the buttons at the top and some of the buttons at the bottom. Some of the buttons at the bottom. That's hard to say. We've done the same margins as is in the start menu. We've done the right 7, just like how we have left 7 for the other one. And we made the margins instead of padding, like how the code had it. This is to do that top bottom thing. And then we've gone over all the button styling and why we needed it all. As far as these colorings, like I say, I'm not completely happy with them, but eventually I'm going to have more of a flashlight effect. Everything else is pretty accurate. Another thing too, this power button looks a little light to me. It's the same icon. The SVG data is there, but maybe I need to make it a little more bold or stroke or whatever they call it. Got a message here from Sad Panda. Figure I'll call out his message here. Is this styled component? Why use JSX element instead of React FC? There's actually a whole thing for that. I had a whole episode where I kind of discussed that. Yes, these are styled components. As far as to your question, it's actually recommended to not use React FC anymore in somewhere that was somewhat legitimate. I can show it again just for the heck of it. Let me try to find the legitimate article that kind of gets into it. I think it's like in the TypeScript advanced usage. Let's see, TypeScript advanced usage React FC. Here, maybe it was in this React cheat sheet. There was some legitimate arguments for it. I think it's also not recommended in some other place now. Why is React FC discouraged? What about... The reasoning behind it is this React FC component, it kind of says that it does more than it does, and that it has expectations versus just doing straight up JSX element, which is a little more, you're very clear, this is what it's going to return. But I could go into a whole thing about it. This isn't just a random article. I think that if you follow this, it goes into a pretty legit forum somewhere where they kind of talk about it. I'm new to React. Well, this is, I'm not new to React, and I only learned about this like years in. So I think React FC, I actually prefer using it a lot of times, but they had a pretty compelling argument here, so it's something to take a peek at. Why is React FC discouraged? Because this TypeScript cheat sheet for React is actually a pretty legit article. It's got 25,000 stars, and a lot of the people that work on React kind of contribute to this. So I think it's a pretty good article. I can post this one to you. I'll just post that to you there, just so you can, if you want to check that out at a later date. It's a pretty good little React TypeScript info thing. But yeah, thanks for showing up and asking questions, and much appreciated, sir. But it's basically the same. Yeah, it's basically the same, to be honest. You're not going to run into an issue 99% of the time, I guess. There are certain components you could make where the type is a little looser than you necessarily want it to be, perhaps. But it's more about just making your types more strict, I guess. Bookmarked. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice thing to check out. Like I said, 25,000 stars it's got on GitHub, so it's popular. Anyways, so yeah, we've got the sidebar here. Let's commit it. So added the sidebar. Done. I'm gonna make that very simple in the end. So yeah, the added, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's 2 commits. I'll put here added layout, added sidebar layout. No, I don't like the way I'm making this list. Icons, layout, there we go. But that's the order in which I did the commits. This is just show notes. It doesn't have to be a 1-for-1 with the commits anyways. Let's go back to the code here and see where we are with this stuff. So again, this is getting to the selection, which I don't want to get into just yet. What did I do to the clock? What did I mess up with the clock? Oh yeah, I think I simplified the clock a bit. Again, another use callback, but I just simplified it in general because I have this use synced clock, which is just to sync up my clock perfectly with the user. But the function that uses it's pretty sparse, so I think I'm just going to combine them. Yeah, this is doing so little. Let's just not waste our time making another file here. And instead, I'm just going to take this use effect and just use it right here. And instead of the callback, is going to be update clock. Yeah, otherwise, nothing needs to change. Import that from here. And yeah, the use sync clock, I'm just going to delete. Here it is. That's just it's just getting a bit extreme with the hooks there. This is basically doing only that function in the end anyways. Otherwise, this one's good. So at the same time, I'm going to get rid of this use callback. This is another pointless one. There's no dependencies, and every time this has to be rechecked. It's going to be different every time, I think, too. Or I guess it's not. This is another one where I don't want it to compare ever, though. Although I guess when there's no dependencies, it could work. Or I guess that could be an argument for the Memo. Again, I don't want these use callbacks or use Memos unless I need them because they're just premature optimization, I still feel like. What is it suggesting I do here? Disable what's not exhaustive in my depths. Where? Oh, this doesn't need to be in there now. I see. Good. Yeah, that doesn't even need to be in the dependencies. It could even be done here. It's fine to make it here though. Yeah, that actually works out really good. So that's the clock. Let's see if I broke the clock. Nope, still ticks. So I didn't break it. Still feels like a reasonable speed. So refactored clock, I'm just going to say. Basically got rid of the use sync, moved it in there, and got rid of use callback. But I'm just going to say refactored clock, refactored synced clock. And we'll put that here. And we'll also say we got rid of a use callback in the clock. Yeah, was it in the clock? Yeah, in the clock. 'Twas in the clock. So that's another one. Let's just go. How many? Oh man, we're only like half done this list. I'm gonna take a peek. I'm hoping I have a bunch of big file changes. Okay, yeah, I got rid of that. Yeah, that's just an SVG. Peek. Oh man, peek is such a big feature that I added. It's cool. I want to get into it. It might not be the episode for it, but maybe. Those are the 3 pieces to the peek. Here's another removing of use Memo. Let's get to that one. We're at almost 2 hours now. So that use Memo was in the taskbar entries, right? That's right here. So I'm still using a use callback here. Oh, right. This is a case of needing use callback. Not this one, but this link taskbar entry that makes it's like a function ref. This you do want to use callback for, I believe. That's one of the few cases where we're going to keep it. But we're not going to do use Memo for this simple comparison to check if something's in the foreground. We'll just run that comparison. That's so simple. And this onClick also does not need to be that and have all those dependencies listed. There we go. Those two should be simple enough. That onClick was to open the taskbar entry. So we could just double check I didn't break that. Neat, doop, neat, doop. Still works. So nice, we got rid of the Memo and we got rid of one of the use callbacks there. Removed use callback from taskbar entry. There we go. Add it to the list, the ginormous list here. That list is getting big actually. Next. Yeah, I like doing these use Memo ones because they're simple. Oh, what did I do here? Oh, this is that peek component, right? That's part of peek. If you guys don't know, like peek is when you hover over a taskbar entry in Windows, a little thing will come up that will show a mini version of the window. And I've essentially recreated that. Yeah, I can't minimize that one yet. Not done with it. What did I do here? Oh, that's part of peek again. Almost everything else here is for peek, it feels like. Here's another use callbacks that I didn't need. for the R&D window, the use R&D. So this drag stop can just be a straight up drag handler with that drag handle function, and we don't need to worry about making it a callback that needs comparison. And same with this. This can just be a resize callback. And it comes from there. There we go. And so this was for the resizing and dragging of windows. So if we test that out here, let me refresh the page and hopefully can still drag, can still resize. I can close and open, it still remembers where it was, so cool. That was literally this entire file. Literally. Removed use callback from use R&D. This is the remove use callback episode from stuff. But hey, if I'm doing less comparisons of dependencies, maybe that's for the best. D&D look hard. Yeah, which D&D is it? The RD&D? Yeah, I've got so many files I've lost track of it, to be honest. It's getting nuts. There's actually less to this. I'm verbose with my variables, so there's not a ton of going on here. It's really just kind of taking an event and setting a few things that were part of the event. I've tried to keep that kind of thing as minimal as possible. Here's more SVGs that we already did that step. Another use memo in the title bar. So many memos to get rid of here that I'm just not happy with. No more function comparison. So where was it here? Oh yeah, this looks like some basic ones that don't need to exist. Yeah, another, too easy. If I'm using that, use memo for that, then it's like, where's the line? There is no line anymore. There we go. I just like that it's simpler, if nothing else. You know, even if this was slower, I would almost be happier. Just because it's like, someone coming along who's new to React doesn't have to be like, oh, you have to do that for everything? It's like, no, you don't actually have to. I don't know why I did. We're gonna do less of that from now on. So, removed use memo in this case from title bar. Add it to the list, add it to the fire. Oops, I messed up my formatting there, which is a capital offense. This part we already did too, this piece at least, because remember the mouse handler was asking for when I did on-close with Webamp, so we fixed that. I don't know if we removed the use callbacks though from the use window actions. I don't think we got that far. No, we didn't, but let's. More of the same. These use callbacks don't need to exist. I mean, this one especially. Another really simple one. I mean, you could argue that it's so simple that maybe it's good to use callback because it's not going to change. But it just adds to the code. The amount of extra time putting in these variables to keep track of dependencies, sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes those dependencies arrays are really useful because you can use them to trigger things when you want based on other things changing without really doing much. You just add it to a list and then now it's like a new when this happens, do this kind of condition almost. But I never intended to use it like that for these, so I shouldn't have had it like this. Remove use callback from use window actions. Oh, let's double check. So does minimize, maximize, and close still work? Let's see. There's minimize, there's maximize, and there's close. Yep. Still working, so that's good. We only have to do this once, people, so please bear with me as we delete many use callbacks. Learn the lesson over and over again. So you see lots of red, that's nice. That means we got rid of code. Here's another one. Let's just search use memo. How many I got left? All right, that's the one. I did this in a lot of cases with the foreground ID. It just totally wasn't necessary. It's just a Boolean, just a simple little comparing of strings. Yeah. removed use callback from, what is this, the window in this case. I was using it everywhere, guys, just everywhere. It's insane. Maximize animation looks cool. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm using framer motion to do the transitions and to be able to just remove the element and still have it transition properly. And it pretty much matches Windows. It's not perfect to minimize, but the minimize Windows does actually kind of jank too. It's not ideal, so I've copied it in my own way. I might even do smaller. I like the Mac one where it's like a draining or something like that. They have some name for it. I can't remember. Some magic name they call it. But yeah, we'll see. I might do even more animations, but if you liked it, oh, the maximize one is the one you like the most. Yeah. Yeah, that one's nice too. I didn't have to do that much to make it work, actually. That's the beauty of that framer motion. Makes you look like you're better at it than you have to be, or than you are. This is the one I just removed on the window, yeah. Another one. Okay, so this I had a little wonky anyways. So let's do some fixes on use focusable. This is like the cleanup code episode in some ways, but at the same time I also added a lot of features. So I completely get rid of use Memo on this page. Yeah, so we've decided for the Z indexes that we don't need that. I hope I've been careful in removing the things correctly, or else I've probably introduced a bug. Because I realized that there's a big difference between how you refactor use Memo and how you refactor use callback. But I think I've been careful enough for the most part. So did I not remove this use callback? Interesting. Oh, it's another one of these ones where I'm doing the move to front thing and I'm not monitoring the correct things. We'll fix that too. So we got rid of use Memo, but I want to get rid of use callback wherever we can. We can get rid of it on blur, I think. Yeah. I'm also gonna, yeah, let's get rid of it here and then we'll see that it's gonna ask me to clarify what that is now. Yeah, now it doesn't know what related target is, so we'll say, you know what, onBlur is a focus event handler, because that's what it is. And so the only place I couldn't remove use callback in this case was this move to front. And I think it was because, why was that the case? I think it was because one of these things changing matters, but I don't know which one it is. If I did, I could probably get rid of the use callback here. If I just did that. Let me try to get rid of use callback quickly and see what happens. I need to keep a note of these dependencies. So now it's complaining because, yeah, the dependencies are being used. If I remove it here, yeah, now it's, what does it want me to put in there? No, it wants all of move to front. What if I just say, what if I say I want to track all these things? Does it stop complaining? It actually does. But what, it's going to say I don't need half of them? What the heck? This might be one of those cases where it just makes sense to keep it as a callback. It's hard to say. The thing is, I use move to front in several other places, so I need it here within that effect, but I also need it here and here. Oh, here was the troublemaker, I bet. Okay, let's just make a note. This one's harder than that other one was, so let's do that one. Figure out how to remove use callback from move to front. We'll get back to that one. But we removed it from everything else. Here it's a little trickier because, yeah, it just depends on these two effects, and then I have to figure out the dependencies, and it's actually for the best that I do figure it out because I probably don't care about all these dependencies. Oh, what happened? Should have a queue. This is likely a bug in React. That's funny. Probably not. It's probably something I introduced. Okay, it's still working. What was this for focusing? Let's test. Cool, still working. It's doing that stupid flicker thing that I need to figure out what happened there, but let's see if I actually did anything here in the code that could have been related to fixing that flicker. I bet that flicker is related to me removing all these use callbacks, you know? One way or another. It looks like I changed on blur. Did I? Oh yeah, I added a piece here. Oh, that's for that's getting back to the peak thing, the peak. For the peak thing, I added that when you click the peak item, it also doesn't unfocus, but we're not there yet. So that's this piece here. Other than that though, I didn't add anything else. So I'm not gonna add that yet until we get there. Oh, this looks better. So for this move to front, I just changed it to this. Ah, maybe this fixed the flicker actually. Did it? I don't know if it did or not. Oh yeah, because I've gotten rid of the entire other condition on my blur. I've changed this blur a bit. Now it's like totally different than how it was before. Or is it? No, it's not. I was thinking move to front was different, but it's not either. So yeah, the only thing that changed with blur was that. Okay, I've confused myself, but this is better. So before I had when move to front would change, when any of these things would change, it was rerunning move to front. But I actually only care that was an on load event. So that only should have happened on load. Let's see if that helps the flicker issue. So we open this. Okay, we open that one. All right, now I close this one. Nice, that fixes that stupid flicker thing. Okay, so fix broken next focusable. That was actually caused by this overreaching. I don't know at what point I'd broke it, but now I fixed it. So let's just make a note of that as well. Fixed next focus unfocusing. Removed use callback. Or yeah, did I remove use callback? Yeah, from a few places. From use focusable. There we go, focusable. That was a long commit message. Close, close, close. Make a note of that. This was the use focusable one. There we go, notes updated. So going back to this, we haven't done this little piece here that was the peak part, but that was a nice fix for the bug. I've Googled use callback and use Mimo. Is this hook's help to increase performance? This is Sad Panda asking, by the way. It can, yeah, definitely. It can help with rendering less when it makes sense to, but in certain scenarios, the logic that you add by checking if something should render takes longer than just rendering the very basic thing that you're checking. And some of the things I'm removing perhaps have made performance worse. Some of them I've made it better. But in general, what I've done is I've removed this performance piece because it's a little premature, basically. Rather than peppering this use callback and use Mimo all over the place, I'm just going to remove it for now, and we'll focus on that later in a performance time. And it's just less code as well, because it's just less stuff in there. So let's keep doing these, because these are some nice refactors here. So we'll come back to this when we do the peak thing if we get to it today. But let's remove another Mimo, this time from the use next focusable. So we have yet another one here that I probably didn't need. I think my logic here was that it only needs to change in these cases, but it's just I'm just adding again. I just keep adding steps to my code, and it's just making it bulky. So that looks a lot more clean to me, and it says the same thing, and it works the same. Let's test it out. We open a window here, we close this one, and the next one focused. So that worked. Sad Panda says, I see. Yeah. I mean, I did a very simplistic explanation, and I myself don't perfectly understand it all the time, but yeah, there's something to it. Like, just because you put the use callback there, the way the JavaScript compiler works, if it goes to that line, it still has to take the function, all the code you made, and make that into a function. And then React can compare that to the previous function, and also can see if the dependencies changed as well. But if the dependencies, even if the dependencies don't change, it still has to make the function because the code is on that line. Whether it executes it is what's in question. So I wasn't giving myself as much of a performance improvement as I thought. Removed use Memo from use next focusable. At the same time, though, there's a possibility that some of these things are less optimized, but it is less code. And in the future, I can deal with things that I've made slower, but it feels faster to me, honestly. I think it's just in my head, but it doesn't feel slower anyways. Here we go. We're finally at the use double click one. How many use callbacks we have left? We still have a lot, unfortunately. I thought I got rid of more of them, but we're at the use double click one. So we don't need it for use double click either. This is another one of those basic refactors where we take the type and we say that the onClick event was based on that. And then we just take the function without the dependencies and we paste that. I think that was it. I don't think I changed anything else about this code, but I'm questioning myself if I did or not now. Yeah, no, I didn't change anything else. Sometimes the file diffs are just brutal for being able to tell what changed. There we go. Removed use callback from use double click. Basically from every hook I had. But as you see, I haven't removed it from every single place, so it does have some purposes in some scenarios. Back to the code here. So I just did this one. Yeah, I just did that. We're getting through this here. We're getting through it. So here in the use file system context, I was able to get rid of use callback and use memos. Nice. So let's clean that up for the use file system context. Yeah, Sad Panda says, gotta go. Thanks for the explanation. No problem. Thanks for checking it out. Feel free to check some others. Throw me a like, throw me a sub if you had a good time. And yeah, much appreciated. I love the conversation. So continuing on this, so this memo here, I basically have just simplified these. Have a good day, night, he said. Yeah, good night for me. Good day for you, perhaps. So we don't need this memo here. That was it for that. Again, it's just simpler to just run it. It's such a minor command. And later I'm going to check to make sure I'm not doing any kind of render flooding or anything like that. So mount fs, I was able to not have in a callback. And same with unmount fs, I don't need to have in that callback piece. Just wasn't necessary, just a bunch of code that wasn't needed. So as you can see here, I can still open a folder. I can open the, where's the zip file here, or images. Are these what are the ones that I have that open in zip? I need a zip file. I wonder if I can rename this to do that. Where would that be? It's in ROMs. Here it is. So if I rename Doom to doom.zip, now it thinks it's a zip, and now if I double click it, there we go. I can open it. So that ran mount right there, and if I close it, it ran unmount. Mount, unmount. Oh, whoa. Mount point is already unmounted. What if I undo my removing of use callback here? Did that help it, or is that just a bug? This is where it's good to have unit tests when you don't know, can't tell your bugs from your fixes, your changes. I've completely broken that window. It's frozen. Let's test this out on another window that I haven't crashed. ROMs. Oh, this is a different instance, so different browser. So we rename that. So we open it, we close it. Oh, we got a console error here. Interesting. Oh, and then I have the same error again. I wonder if it's related to me renaming the file. I feel like that wasn't as buggy before, but it's buggy as hell now. Okay. So actually though, it was broken before, I think. Let's just put these back then. Why is it having such a hard time with this file? It's weird. So I've gotten rid of the use callback again because it doesn't seem to be the issue, but I'm going to make another note here. Mount, unmount, and mount causes issue for renamed zips. Possibly just zips in general, but we'll start with renamed ones and fix that. And if it fixes other stuff, great. So my VS Code started acting all wonky, so I'm going to close it. Oh, VS Code. When will you learn? Here we go. It's back. So now it's not acting weird. I've noted the mount, unmount, and mount causes issue with renames. We've removed the use callbacks here because otherwise it was okay. So yeah, we didn't need use callback or use Memo here. And I don't think I changed anything else substantially. No, nothing. Nothing else changed, even one iota. So let's do another commit here. Removed use callback from use file system, I'll just say. The file's a little longer named, but that's the basics of what that hook leads to in the end. There we go. What's the next one here? We got another one here, the use menu context state. I feel like I removed a ton of lines this episode. So, broken record story here. Here's another one. No dependencies, no necessary. So this is for the context menu itself. So context menus still work. Oh, where'd my icon go actually? Let me refresh here. Whoa! The app seems to have crashed. Oh, right. The app's just crashed because I closed VS Code, so I lost this node instance that I had going. So now my icon should be back. There we go. The icons are still there, so the context menu still seems to work. So that didn't break that. Removed use callback from context menu. Wow, this list is getting big. That was all I did there. I don't know if we're going to get to these things like peak and selection. I guess we're going to have an episode that's like, instead of refactors, it's just going to be like a feature dump. Well, we did the left nav. We did the buttons here. That was an accomplishment. Selection is something we could discuss another time. Peak was a fun one. I wanted to show you, but there's so much to explain. So here's another nice one. Winamp, the singleton logic. I forgot about this. This is, oh wait, I added this already. Didn't I already do the singleton thing? I think I already did it, and I just want to do a singleton refactor. Yeah. So I've got some singletonness here. Let's see where. So it's in this piece specifically. So before I had it where I was checking if it was a singleton here. So the singleton idea was like for Winamp, if you double clicked an MP3, it opened Winamp, but then if you opened up just straight Winamp, it was opening another Winamp. So I've said for the process of Winamp, it's a singleton, which means any way you go, it's got to open in the same process. So let's just see what I've done here to see if it makes any sense. So now I'm defining singleton as a Boolean, so I can reuse it here a few times. And then I do similar check where I say if the singleton piece, which is already here. Oh, right. So this logic wasn't necessary. So I had this here running where it was checking for the process or like Winamp _ MP3 path to see which was the initial Winamp started process. But now I'm just going to have that if it's a singleton, never put the URL as part of the process name. So that means here that I can just assume that if the process name is in there, then we want to just update the process, which was what was basically happening here in this much more complicated condition. So yeah, that's much nicer now. I can do an includes the process instead of having to find it and looking for two different ones. So that condition's become smaller. And then like I say here, if it's a singleton, we just use the process ID directly. Otherwise, we make that hybrid one. So there we go. So we simplify the singleton logic there. Simpler singleton logic. A lot of stuff there. That's this piece done. Component window, that gets back into peak. More use callback, gone. This one's for the use session context. So I only was able to get rid of one use callback here, it looks like. Why couldn't I get rid of prepend or remove from stack? That's very odd that I wasn't able to get rid of those. Because this function seems trivially, this seems like it would never need to change. Let's try to remove that, but let's start with this one. So toggle start menu. What does that do again in the session context? Oh, this just open closes the start menu. Okay. So we're not going to use callback there. And the start menu still opens and closes just fine. Now prepend to stack, that is trickier. This is for keeping track of the stack order of the windows as to which one is in front, which is behind the next one. So I just removed those use callbacks. If I open the window there, oh, it hates that. It's definitely in some kind of loop. So why? Because I'm just making the function here. It's hard to imagine why that needs to be that way. See, those are two that I don't understand. Let's add these to the list too. Figure out how to remove, or let's say figure out how to remove use callback from, and then we'll make a list of the ones that were failures here. This one, there might be a few more, but these are the ones that legit are just not working. I wonder if remove could have worked, but why wouldn't prepend work? It doesn't make sense, but that's for next stream to figure out. So we only were able to remove it from toggle, but toggle worked, so that's something. So removed use callback from toggle start menu. Not as many as I was hoping for that one. Drink a bit of water here. So here we're getting to the package updates. So the Winamp file name reading was this one. The peak part was HTML to image. These were from the package updates that already existed. And then the selection doesn't have any dependencies added. Why is this absolute now? Okay, that's what that gets into the dependency updates, the library updates. So yeah, I updated JS-DOS, but we're not gonna, let me make a note on my thing here to do that. Oh, I put that here, upgrade libraries, right. We're not gonna upgrade the libraries, it just takes forever. But there are updates, so it's good at some point, definitely before release, that we're gonna get the newest versions of these things that work. Okay, so for the icon here, this is a tricky one. This one I think is probably just for, I noticed that with peak, when it was, if a file explorer would open and then it would try to take a picture of the DOM window again, it wasn't able to take the picture of icons because they are getting unloaded too early. And what do I mean by that? I'll show you right now. So I had it right here where after it loads, it would clear the buffer of the URL because the image keeps showing, but it turns out if you want to request that image, it won't work. And that was part of the issue. So what I've done is I've changed onload to just be, So it's not doing this part now. And now because onload is not doing that, it's basically just the same as this. It's just doing set property of visibility on the target. So I'm just going to cut that down to be just that. I'm actually going to move it over here. So now onload is just doing, oops, here. Set property visibility to visible for the image when it's loaded. So it's hidden by default. And we're going to switch this icon to be called a styled icon. And we're going to make another component for the icon. And I'm just going to paste it here. And one other thing here, in the type, I'm just going to do a rearranging of the alphabet here. I noticed this is supposed to be D first, then I. Pretty minor. So the icon, what have I done? All I've done is pretty much the same as it was before. So it was a styled icon. It's still just returning the styled icon, but it's doing a use effect that on destroy. So the use effect here function and then return a function that if basically the same condition that existed before. If the source was a blob, clear the buffer. But now it doesn't do that until the image is removed, its component. Whereas before it was doing that on load. And I had to add this little bit of React in here so that the element knows when it's disappeared. So we'll import use effect. Now we have to rename this to a JSX file because it's confused, or TSX, sorry. There we go. It was confused about this me using JSX here. Whereas before I was just exporting the styled component directly. So yeah, all I did is added the same function that was happening before on load is now happening on destroy of the React component. That's just the styled component with its props passed. And it took me a little bit of time to figure out this typing for the props, where it's like React FC. So this is the funny that the sad panda was talking to me about not using React FC because I actually used it here. I didn't want to though. Let me see if I can avoid it. If I get rid of React FC here and say that the props is that, and that it returns the JSX element. It actually allows that, so I might just do that. Let's just make sure that it's wherever it's calling icon is still working without a complaint. Yeah, it's not complaining, so it's fine with that version. So yeah, I didn't use React FC there, but I did have to figure out this React image HTML attributes, HTML image element, and icon props, which was basically what the styled icon was doing. The way I found it was basically just hovering over this and reading all this and kind of trying to decode how can I do a simple type here. So one other piece I noticed that I needed to do was that this was loading more than once and killing it more than once even if the props didn't change. So this was my first opportunity to use Mimo here properly, I think, hopefully. So this one's basically saying do not change if the props don't change. And I probably want that behavior in other places, but here was the only place where it really made a difference. So now you see when I open this, there's the file icon and I close it and nothing exploded. You don't notice the difference, but there's a difference and it's not noticeable here. But basically this icon here, it had to grab the image and make a object URL to show that image. And before I was cleaning it right after it showed it because it would remain, but that wouldn't allow me to do my window peek thing where I take a photo of this DOM element because the photo tries to reload those images again. So this is just an improved an image component anyways. So now instead of doing it on load, it does this on destroy. Otherwise, nothing really changed there. So clean icon buffer on destroy, not load. I'll just put on destroy. There we go. That's a refactor if I've ever seen one. So that image is now improved in that way. These are the constants that we've already know about. Okay, so we're at 2.5 hours and we've done everything other than the peeking, the ID3 piece, the ID3 data from Winamp, and the selection. Now, do I want to do those? I think I do. Yeah, let's do them. So I have a bunch of notes here of stuff too. Did I fix these? Yeah, show file extensions. I did that one. Only select name during rename. I did that. Closing second window is only switching focus momentarily. Oh, I actually knew about that bug and I fixed it in this episode. Okay, here's one. Music keeps playing on load for Webamp. That was a bug that I've introduced. Let's take a look at use Webamp. I think that's where I messed it up. So I switched to on will close instead of on close because it gave me a little more time to do this. But for some reason I was doing cancel, and I think I've figured out I don't need to do that. Let's go back to copying this file and comparing the diff in my VS Code, because I'm once again a little bit unclear what I've changed. So this is TypeScript. So I just copied in the changed version that I have that I've been trying to work with. And I'm going to compare the two in VS Code to see the differences. Because I've already changed a lot of stuff, but not everything. So the one on the right is the old one, which is confusing. I should probably flip that comparison. I wish it was a little easier to flip comparisons, but I don't intuitively know. There we go. Anyways, it's flipped. Oops. So now we can see all the little changes that I haven't quite captured yet. First one being that I'm doing the setup elements and I don't remove from stack anymore. I put a space here. Okay. So as far as that first bug, let's try it out. So oh, sorry guys, again. I was looking at the code here. Again, I forgot to switch to the code. I hate when I do that. But I copied the file change and I've got the file as it is now, and I'm trying to see the differences. So for on will close, I changed a few things. I removed the need for this, or did I already have that? Where is that? Okay, so I was removing from stack here, but isn't on close doing that? Okay, yeah, on close removes from stack and sets foreground window and closes window transition. So I probably could have done that actually when I moved to this. I probably forgot to do that. Yeah, that was a mistake on my part. So let's just do that as a single change then. What were the changes again? Here. Right, so remove from stack is not needed with on close. I'm not even gonna make a new note in the show notes because that was something I should have added to the on close commit that I added when I changed this line. So as far as the cancel, I don't know why I thought I needed cancel, but I don't think I do. I don't know. I just thought I did. So let's not put cancel there. And now when we open Winamp here, oh, I don't have any music. Let me drag over a song to I have just drag and drop support, so I'll do that. Boom, just like that. So you see the icons there. So if I open Winamp, so there we get it. So you see it's triple question mark because we don't have the ID3 tag thing working yet. But if I click it, it should play. I mean, unfortunately we can't hear it. Why is that? Let me try to switch to this browser window here. It's like chronically just doesn't work for that. It's very odd. Oh, I don't have any music on this. This is a different instance. Let me pick a similar song. So I double click it here and press play. Oh, here we go. You guys can hear the music. So watch, if I close it, it stopped. But is that, oh yeah, I already fixed the code here, right? So if I don't do that, it was not working earlier. Oh man. That's louder than I expected. Watch, I close. Yeah, you see the music still playing. I have to refresh the page. Okay, so I don't know why I was canceling, but let's not. So don't cancel Webamp close. Yeah, I don't remember the reasoning behind why I had that before. Yeah, you don't learn and you don't live. Or you live and you don't learn. That's it. So this I don't care about. This change here, setup elements. I think, why did I extract that out into its own function up here? Do I run it twice? Oh, it's clearly doing more stuff now. Before this was just appending get web. Oh, okay. This goes back to the peak thing again. So for peak window, I need to tell the system what element is the window. That was what I added here, but I'm probably not going to do peak today because it's just a lot of energy that I don't have. But we'll get to that next day, and I'm going to have to reapply these changes. There's the ID3 thing. We'll get to that because that's pretty simple. This is part of the updated presets, which we're not doing today. That's the updated libraries. I think I need to turn it into a promise to do that ID3 piece, which I think we're pretty much on now. I'm just trying to see if there's any other pieces I missed. That's for peak. That's for peak. The remove from stack. Oh yeah, I don't need that. Oh man, again, another piece that I didn't need to commit. I forgot to commit. Here we go. That was another unnecessary little change. Remove stack from hooks. That's another one I forgot. I'm at 39 commits this episode because I've done so many little minor ones. Okay, so yeah, other than peak, I think we got it. So now we can move on to the music, or to the ID3 tag. So again, getting back to the issue, you watch, I double click AC/DC and we get triple question marks. So it didn't work. Now, if you remove the metadata definition piece here, if I just don't specify a metadata and then I double click it, you see it does something, but it's acting weird. I get a crash and it was flickering and stuff. Not a fan. So I'm just going to figure it out myself ahead of time. And what I'm going to use is this. And I think it's the same one that they're actually using. If we go to the repo here, music metadata browser, and you see all the different files it supports, and you see there's some demos, including one from Webamp. So it's possible they actually use this one. It's pretty popular. It's based on just the normal music metadata. Like this has 113, but music metadata, like that, is it? Yeah, this one has 489, and it looks good anyways. I'm happy with it. So let's try it out. So to do that, we have to install it first. Yarn add music metadata browser. We add it here. And I think the command that I wanted to import in is called parse buffer, because we already have a buffer of what we need. Where does that go after use session here? So we want to parse a buffer of MP3 data, and we want to get the tag information out of it. Here is where I'm doing it with one very simple command that I have. So if there's a file, then we're going to parse it. And basically the way that works is we already have the file and we just pass that right into parse buffer. Now, the reason I decided not to use or to go then is because I do stuff here. Yeah, we don't want to run options yet until we're sure about this piece. So I've decided to use await here, which means I have to make this function asynchronous. That's okay. I like using await sometimes. So it doesn't return anything, but it returns a void promise. So now that this is an async function, this load webamp, now I can say await parse buffer. So now it's going to wait to get a result from this, and it's going to give it to me. And if it doesn't get a result, it's going to be empty. And then from that, it's going to parse this out. Now I know the format, and it's like this. So it's like common is the first part it gets, and then you get either an artist or a title. Now, why is it complaining here? Oh, because I haven't used artist or title yet, right? So we'll just shrink this here, artist and title, and just pass them directly into the metadata like that. And the defaults are here. So for default artist, I put nothing. And then for title is where I wanted to use file name. So that's why we needed to pass file name here, because it doesn't know it by default. So we'll say file name here, and it's a string. And we need to say here also that it comes in. There we go. And then we just have to pass that file name when we load Webamp, which, if you remember, we had it for a while. So it was like the base name, I think. Yeah, the base name including extension from the URL. and base name comes from the path function. There we go. So we imported the music metadata browser. We took in the parse buffer function from it, and we run it here to try to get the artist and title from the file, and we pass those in as the metadata. And if this doesn't work, then it's going to use defaults because the object will be empty, and the defaults are no artist, but the title should be based on the file name, which we now pass in here. And because parse buffer takes a bit of time, we've decided to do a wait for it and make this load Webamp an asynchronous operation. And then, yeah, we pass in the file name here. So let's try that and see if it worked. So now when we double click, there we go, AC/DC Thunderstruck. And another test we can do is I can take that MP3 in Windows, and I can strip out the ID3 tag. I'm going to do that. Actually, I'm going to take a different MP3. So we'll test an MP3 that doesn't have an ID3 tag. So here's an MP3. I go properties, details, remove all information. What do I remove here? There we go. So I'll drag it in here. So this MP3 has no ID3 tags. I deleted them. So now when I double click it, there we go. So it failed to do the parsing, and then you see here the name is the full file name because it ends in .mp3, but it was still pretty quick. And if I were to delete this file and then copy it again with the ID3 tag, same file, and now I double click it, and now you see we got it without the .mp3 because it actually read the full artist and title. So there we go. So that got us the other Webamp part, not including peak. So now we have Webamp reads ID3 tags. It slices, it dices. There we go. And if we compare one more time those files, I think there wasn't anything else that wasn't involving, yeah. This is all just involving peak, which we're going to get to another day, or the library upgrade. I don't think I want that new line there. I don't know why it thought it needed it. So back to the code. If that's all peak, it's a big change actually. And this one here is selection. So all that's left now is peak and selection, which we unfortunately didn't get to this episode. I think we're gonna have to call it at this stage here, because look at all the stuff we've done. We've done so many little refactors. We've done 40 commits. We didn't get every feature, but we removed a ton of code, and we did add some good fixes. We added some features. We added the sidebar here. The windows are focusing better. The Webamp's loading better. We made progress. So I'm gonna push these 40 commits like so, and come back to me. So thank you guys for checking out another stream of mine, 2 hours 45-ish. If you liked it, please throw me a like, subscribe, keep me motivated, and keep up on what's going on. We didn't get to the selection part where you do drag and you get a blue thing where you can pick multiple items. And we also didn't do the peak view, but I do have that code. So next stream, I'm gonna take the code, those changes, I'm gonna put them in the next branch that I keep working on before the streams. And next stream, we're gonna add it. So come back next week for more of the same or better, who knows. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was much appreciated. Feel free to leave comments, questions, concerns, that kind of thing, criticisms. That's it. See you guys later. Bye.